GM, everybody. It's Index Card and Little Panda, live streamed to Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. And we're just going to kind of be working on our Lil Nouns prop that we have lined up sometime this next week or two. We're hoping to go on chain. Last time, or a few times ago, we had Al on air, kind of working us through our vision. Then we came back, Lil Panda and I kind of built out a little bit of the prop. We got some initial feedback, and we're kind of going to synthesize some of that feedback today and just kind of continue working along this journey. Kind of flesh out the prop maybe a little bit more today, some of the assets we need, and we figured why not do it live. So we'll cue our little intro here, and we'll see you in a moment.
GM Index Card, how are you?
GM Panda, I'm doing pretty well. Excited to kind of keep working. I felt like last time we had a really good rhythm going, and I'm kind of hoping we can keep it going today and just get one step closer to going live with our prop. But first, if you want to kind of go through this little slide we have here.
Yeah, basically just three things. I'm working on this, going to make this into some kind of video, but this is entertainment. We're producing a show, a live stream. It's entertainment. It's not financial advice. We're never going to tell you to buy a token. You probably shouldn't buy any crypto tokens. We both own Lil Nouns. Index Card owns a noun. And last thing is we are hopefully sponsored by Lil Nouns. We're not sponsored by anyone else, and we haven't been sponsored yet, but hopefully they will sponsor this retroactively. That's sort of what this first half of the season is about. But please do not take any of this for legal advice or financial advice.
Well said. And I guess just to kind of like continue introing, we like to play around in Figma. We do most of our building in Figma. We have a HackMD file kind of going on the side where we'll actually build out the prop that we'll put on chain. But for now, most of the work we do is in Figma. So this is just going to be kind of a chill live Figma session so that we can look back on what we've done. Anybody else can kind of come in and look back on how we got to wherever it is that we go with this journey. And so, yeah, we're just going to kind of work nice and relaxed. Maybe have a few things done and to show by the end of the stream.
Yeah, definitely. Let's get into it with sort of what I added is I added this little car with my head and your head because it's almost like this prop is sort of like a vehicle for you and me as live streamers. Also, I really like kind of my head peeking out here, and as you always say, like your Index Card, you have a very wide forehead and you just don't quite fit in the car. So kind of have you on the back of the car. I'm not sure if you should be kind of like behind this, but anyway, at least we got a cool red car now.
Yeah, I'm good wherever you want to put me. I like how you said it on the previous stream. I like a little bit of the fresh air sometimes. And yeah, I couldn't quite fit in the car, but I'm along for the ride with you, and we'll see where we end up. It's going to be interesting either way. The goal is to go on chain at Lil Nouns and Nouns at the end, the grand finale. Right now, we're not quite there yet, but we hope to be going on chain at Little's probably within a week, I think, right? But with this whole process, you never really quite know how long things will take and where you'll go. But yeah, we're hoping go on chain within the week.
Yep, you never really know, but yeah, that's the hope. So yeah, last time we did, you did this great kind of 3-part thing, sort of shows that we were producing a lot of the content already. I notice you have kind of the lock is facing the other direction on this. But yeah, we're thinking about this like our prop is going to be for a season of funding. We're doing like the first half through the first half cliffhanger for free. Then the funding we're asking for would be to finish the season and retroactively comp for the first part. So yeah, trying to get the word out there. Just spoke with English on stream. He gave us a lot of good feedback. Cardno might be joining us tomorrow, might be joining us later today. TBD. But yeah, how do you feel like the feedback's been, Index?
So far, like mostly positive and in different ways too, which is kind of nice. It's good to like see firsthand that people have different perspectives, and they're quite open to sharing those perspectives with us, which is kind of much appreciated. I know a big thing actually is that a lot of the trouble people have is that they can't quite get the advice they're looking for before they go on chain. And I feel like we've kind of been able to extract some of that, that kind of feedback that seems to kind of elude some people sometimes.
Yep. Yeah, we by the way, we also booked a media gig probably this Monday, right on the Lil Nouns show, to hopefully talk about our prop.
Yeah. I also am scheduled to be on TNS 9 o'clock, I believe on the 28th. So like Wednesday. Yeah. So we got or maybe that's, the 29th Wednesday. Yeah. So we got a big week lined up. Should be kind of exciting, I think. Things are starting to come together, line up well. And I don't know. So what are you thinking that we should kind of work through on this stream?
Yeah, I think let's look at kind of this episode, what we need. We could work on the owl clip. You could work on you could delegate me your votes.
Yeah, I could do that, because we should say that we do have the Lil Nouns available to us to go on chain ourselves. Between the two of us, I think you have 6, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you have 6 and I have 3. So combined, we're over the threshold in order to post a proposal. So that's kind of like part of the battle out of the way, and we should probably touch on that at some point. But yeah, one of those steps would be I'd have to delegate to you so that you can hit that 7 threshold. I believe it's 7. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but
Yeah, no, I need to figure that out.
yeah, from what I gather, it's 7 right now. So
who do we have joining us? Oh, here's my without any kind of PFP. You got to throw up an MF there. Here's my GM. Sending you a DM, brutal. Just got this response. Here's you're on mute still. Can you hear us? GM.
I guess not. Back on mute. I guess we'll just keep working. If you get audio or you can chat, feel free to hop in at any point. Right?
Yeah, maybe this would be a good opportunity to just give my quick pitch. But I guess, yeah, let's wait till here's my. Can you hear us? Yeah, his mic isn't working. Maybe settings, audio. Sometimes it gets the wrong device. Yeah, you can hear me. I think he'll be back. Let's look at your screen here for a minute. What are you working on, Index? GM, here's my working.
But yeah, I guess over here on my screen, kind of previewing these shareable or hopefully shareable like social assets kind of in this portrait format. So think like YouTube Shorts, maybe TikTok, maybe even Twitter, but maybe I'm thinking for Twitter a slightly different format. So maybe, I think it's really beneficial to tailor content to the platform you're sharing it on. It's a lot more work, but this is kind of like the preview of what I'm thinking. We get a guest on, our live stream is really like the lifeline of everything, and that's kind of the main source of content. But from those live streams kind of feed out into these little bite-sized pieces of content. So we'll have Al here, and hopefully we have some audio playing in the background. And a quote from what he said from our episode. This is not a real quote, but just a kind of like a placeholder, a little lorem ipsum, but not really. And I think, I don't know, I really like this direction, and I think it's gonna kind of help boost our presence and kind of share and do justice to our guests. Really, what I like to do. They come on here, they share some great feedback, and I just kind of want to do them justice. As we say, you want to involve other people in the game here. You don't want to keep it just to us. So I think that's kind of the direction I'm headed in. So I've been working on this a little bit more and more. But we have Carno possibly coming up in the future, either today or tomorrow. So maybe kind of make a quick iteration of Carno. I already had his pumpkin head, but I should add a body to this. So we'll hop over this file. And feel free to chime in at any point. I'm just going to kind of talk through my work. I think he's grayscale 1. So I'm going to take grayscale 1. Paste it here. Got to group that down to scale, and then I can scale it up in the future. I'll take another Carno here, and maybe 21 pixels wide. Or I should take the original, which I think I had it here. Command C. Okay, not quite the original, but close. Just find the pumpkin so I can get it accurate. I gotta grab the first one here.
I was on mute. I was just showing you the string of pumpkins that were settled last Halloween.
I remember being kind of like an outside observer to Littles, and I feel like I kind of remember that some chaos with the pumpkins. Kind of fun. I think that's what's so great about Littles, is that like it allows opportunity for these kind of funner, more like whimsical stuff to happen that you can't quite get in Nouns proper.
Yeah, you got the grayscale one, and then the leaf is his accessory.
Yeah, I gotta get the leaf here.
Yeah, you can grab it.
Here. Where's the leaf? You see it here? Sometimes it's difficult. That's us. Oh, here we go. There's Cardinal. Then like alignment, I was gonna figure out alignment here. I feel like I got it right first try. The head, I just have to make sure I have the head right. Do you know his now number? You had it open?
Yeah, 6603.
6603. All right, so over one more. There we go. Now we have Cardinal. And then I just kind of got to like outline him here. Kind of just work like this real quick. Or at least I think it's fairly quick. I could probably be faster at this, but the stream is getting to me, you know? I think here.
You think Cardinal feels embarrassed that you're kind of dressing him right now?
I don't know, I feel like he's down for anything almost. No, I just need this guy here. And then group this. Oh wait, I'm missing this part right here. Missing this part. All right. So we got Carno. We'll just regroup. Did I mess up your screenshot? Then we'll take him here.
Look at that. We got Here's My again. GM, Here's My.
Hey, GM, can you hear me this time?
Loud and clear. Welcome to the show.
All right. How's it going?
Going great. Let me introduce you to my pal Index Card. Index Card, he designed the Index Card head. He's a nouner, and we're working on this prop together. Welcome, meet my friend Here's My from MF the Builder.
GM, how are you?
GM, doing good. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I have an affinity for the MFers. I never owned one, but I did attempt to mint when it went live, and it was pretty hectic. It was a pretty hectic mint, yeah. So
well, there's always room for you, whenever the time comes.
Yeah, I think my transaction failed, but thankfully I didn't waste too much gas. But yeah, I just never quite went back yet, but maybe some point. It seems like a really fun group of people.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So yeah, I didn't catch really anything. The audio just wasn't cooperating with me, but I'm here, so happy to see what you guys are doing.
Yeah, so cool. So let me give you the quick 1 minute, 30-second pitch on what we're doing. You're not really into nouns or Lil Nouns, so I think it'll be good to get your kind of outside perspective. But yeah, what we're putting a prop up on Lil Nouns main chain, and it's basically the prop is going to be to fund a whole season of this live stream. And so the season finale of our stream is going to be us going on chain at Nouns, and with a prop that we're going to develop, and either we're going to win, we're going to lose, something's going to happen. And the value prop for Lil Nouns is we're going to, it's entertainment, it's engaging. It's also going to be sort of like a documentary of how does someone get on chain at Nouns, and how does Lil Nouns help them, and what's the value prop for Lil Nouns, and kind of the storytelling. And so the mood board is kind of are you a Seinfeld fan?
Oh yeah, big time.
So here's sort of our mood board is, there's this whole arc in Seinfeld, the sitcom, where Jerry and George go and pitch the show Seinfeld, which is a show about nothing. And so our show is kind of like that. It's kind of like it's a meta show about nothing, but the show is about us putting a prop together and going on chain.
Awesome. Yeah, that's super cool. Gets the community involved while you're building, and can see how the process works. So yeah. So which one is Jerry and which one's George in this situation?
Index, I'm gonna let you take over. I have to go for 5 minutes, but I'll be right back. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll switch to my stream here and go back. I think it was an original file. I was kind of the one that originally brought up the Seinfeld reference because I'm pretty big Seinfeld. I haven't watched in a while, but I've watched every episode numerous times. And originally I had Panda as George and then me as Jerry, just because the color of Jerry's jacket matched. But then I switched, and I'm not really sure. I feel like I'm probably George because I'm a little more neurotic maybe than Panda. He's a little more even keeled. But I feel like this is something that can go either way, at any moment. But I'll call myself George for now.
Perfect. I think George would have done the same. So that matches.
Yeah. So this was kind of in the very early stages of this idea, we pulled this in. We've kind of evolved from this a little bit. So you can see I pulled this when the show is about nothing. Panda put some noggles on it. Then the show is about infinity because kind of fixated on this idea of infinite games and nouns kind of being a game in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
And infinite games, they have no kind of boundaries, and the idea is to include a lot of other people participate with you. And then here the show is about now. So we were just kind of playing with this. And then I don't know if you know Al, the microwave head.
No, I don't.
Okay, so he's kind of he's a resident at Lil Nouns, and he kind of he's just very supportive. And so
cool.
We kind of just memed it to start, but we took the idea and ran with it. We had another Nounish member Sunduboop on to try and like guide us visually a little bit. So we kind of pushed the video game aspect a little bit here, as you can see. And this was Sunduboop's work that kind of set us off in the right direction.
Very nice. Yeah.
Yeah, pixelated fun, kind of like 8-bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we switched over to this Figma here. And it's kind of got like a whole storyboard. And essentially, you know, I'm a big noun, but I'm also a little noun. Panda's a little noun. And our goal is to kind of tell our story of going from little nouns to big nouns, because that's kind of a big message and kind of idea that Lil Nouns would like to get across to builders out there in the ecosystem, that there's like a path. You come into Lil Nouns, you kind of get your feet wet, you get going, we give you a little bit of funding, we help you build your idea out, and then maybe someday you go to the Nouns and kind of take your idea to the next level. You don't have to, obviously, you could stick with littles, but we thought we would just kind of do it live on stream and showcase everything.
Very cool. Yeah, I like that sort of path to the nouns.
Yeah, so it's a very meta thing, kind of like the Seinfeld within Seinfeld, but hopefully not explicitly about nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, what's kind of like your initial reaction here, I guess? I'll just walk you through a lot of content here we made.
Yeah. I like it. So the prop is for the whole season.
Okay, so yeah, I probably should explain a little bit. Let's just call it rough.
Graphic. Just go to the graphic you worked on.
Where's which one?
The wheel in the middle.
Oh, yes. Okay. Here we go.
And our vehicle.
You're back?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. You want to chime in here? Walk us through this?
No. I want to let you keep going. I just got back.
Okay. So yeah, I made this graphic to kind of distill it in a very simple format. But let's just say we have about 10 episodes, and you know, we started with the pilot, and the grand finale is us going on chain at Nouns. Win or lose, that's kind of how we would like this journey to culminate, this little adventure. But it's kind of a two-part. So we're going to go on chain at Little Nouns, and we're currently telling that story right now. Like, you're kind of a part of it here. Mm-hmm. So we're working through it live. And when we go on chain at Little Nouns, we'll have already kind of completed part of that journey. So we're kind of here. And when we go on chain at Little Nouns, we're going to face kind of the whale I put here, but it's really like this is like the cliffhanger, because if we go on chain at Little Nouns and we fail, that's the end of the season right there, you know?
Right, yeah.
The network canceled us. The fans are clamoring for more. They're raiding the Discord, demanding to bring it back, hopefully. But yeah, and then if we do pass this kind of the whale and we unlock, we get to the finale. And so yeah, it's like a two-part season. First part is our journey through Little Nouns. We're kind of doing it right now. And if we pass at Little Nouns, we'll get some retroactive funding for the work we just did, and future funding to continue this journey to Nouns.
Awesome. I love it. It's like a story within a game, within a story, within a game.
Yeah. And it was kind of nice to walk through it, because I feel like I need some practice, probably simplify it down just like to like a minute, because I think at the core, it's really quite simple. But yeah, that was kind of nice to walk through. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Panda, I don't know if you have any additional color or commentary on that. Maybe fill in any gap if you're there. If not, that's okay. You might be busy for a moment.
No worries.
But yeah, so this is Al. He's the microwave head. And we had him on for what we were calling the pilot, episode 0, episode 0.5, whatever. He kind of just like gave us initial raw feedback on our idea before we even really had the full prop. We had been kind of storyboarding it, but yeah, he really is kind of like guiding us. And then we went past him. This is Will Price. He owns the most Little Nouns as an individual. He tends to vote no on a lot of proposals right off the gate, and it can kind of just set your journey on like a tough foot to get going. Yeah. So he's a big key player. We're kind of meaning it
like that. Yeah.
He's kind of like a central character, like a villain almost, but not quite. He's a great guy. But yeah. So There we go. A little additional insight.
Oh, look at that.
Panda, you there with audio? Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I was going to say, just really appreciate about Here's My is he voted no on my proposal to be a resident, but he really engaged. He gave good reasons, and it was really like it was a warm no. It wasn't like kind of a nasty or a cold no. And I always appreciate kind of voters who can vote thoughtfully and give reasons. And no votes are some of the hardest votes to cast in a DAO, but they're also very important. And really appreciate Here's My for showing up and voting no against me. Unironically, I really do.
Yeah. It's always weird to vote no against someone who I wasn't voting no against you. It was like against the idea of residencies so early. So it's just interesting. It's like, no, I think you should get paid, but maybe not in this way. But I'm like happy that you won. It's interesting. A no vote doesn't mean I'm upset. It's interesting.
This was at MF or Builder DAO?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And to be honest, I'm glad it passed anyway. I'm super happy with with everything, pretty much.
Yeah, so like when I acquired my Noun back in October, and I had been like a passive / semi-active participant in Nouns for a while, but never really had a vote on a proposal and vote on chain. And those first few votes, they were kind of stressful. It like really makes you think deeply about how you feel about the DAO and each proposal, because it's on chain and everyone can see it. And of course, you don't really have to give a reason or anything, but I think on a couple I tried to, and I voted no on one with quite like a heavy and intense response. So yeah, I guess I'm not afraid to vote no either, with reason, but it's intense. It's not easy to do.
Yeah, agreed. But good exercise to do so sometimes.
Yeah, and then I did meet in person actually someone loosely related to the proposal I voted no on, so it was kind of fun to like talk it out in person. And it had passed anyway too, so it wasn't a big deal. But yeah.
Cool, awesome. Anything we can help you with? Here's My.
No, I'm good. I'm just gonna keep listening and take care of some things around the house, and I'm here if I have any input.
All right, cool. Index. Let's get at it. What should we work on next?
Yeah. Well, I guess I was kind of doing this Carno thing, but kind of got that for now, right? He's kind of on there. I do have to find a way to animate it. I don't know if that's going to be on stream because I'll have to start playing around with other programs and stuff, but I would really like to get this sort of animated in some fashion.
It can be as simple as just a left-right look. Emphasize a point. That's real easy to do.
Yeah, that probably could work, honestly. And then also I do want to kind of run with this template, and I would like to make it whatever color you want. I kind of adjusted Al's to a little bit of an off hue of his noggles, but whatever you want, and I can adjust the rest. Like, so I just went in here. I think I did this. Like this, and then we kind of have it. I think I even went here to the background, kind of here, and then tone it down a little bit. It's all right. We gave him kind of like brown. Hopefully he likes brown, but yeah, mess with the colors however you want. Also, we can play with the format if you want. Whatever you're thinking.
Yeah, I don't think it matters a whole lot for now.
And then I'm not sure if the border translates onto like the social platforms that well. It might have like an ugly kind of black background anyway, or I actually don't know how it is. That's where I'm kind of new to this, but I'm kind of like really feeling this thing that I created. Simple but effective, and I think that's what matters.
Yeah, I think it's possible the text needs to be bigger, but we can play with that later. Play with that as we go.
Yeah, I agree. It could probably be it could be, I don't know. Let's pull a version of this. Let's just duplicate Al here. Could even be like
Honk honk, we got Cardno joining us soon, momentarily.
okay. Yeah, I guess the text is a little bit tough because you can only go so big with this kind of like narrow format. But maybe Al down here, or maybe kind of something like this. Put it to the top. Left the line. I don't know. 128 is going to be. Yeah, that's a little too much, maybe. We'll have the audio playing, I hope, too, in my vision, but.
So I would say with Cardno, let's try. I don't think anyone's pitched him yet. Let's see if we can explain the concept to him in like 15 seconds.
Okay, you want to? We're practicing before we go.
I think we gotta just be able to have like a 2-sentence TLDR that makes.
Yeah,
sense.
that's kind of what I was talking with Here's My about. Like, it took me a little bit. Oh, Cardno's in. All right, here we go.
Speak of the pumpkin himself, GM Cardno.
Yeah.
GM Cardno. GM. There you go. That's his quote.
Yeah, nice and easy.
Well done.
Yeah, straight to the point.
Smooth audio, by the way. Whatever
Thank
kind
you
of
very much.
hardware you got going.
Yeah, so on the
Audio
last
experience.
Little Noun show prop, we put in a well, we didn't put it in, but we carved like a certain amount off like our funding to enable us to like buy audio to like improve the whole show and that. So I think it wasn't like discretionary. It was just sort of if the host wanted to, and I think myself and English, and I think maybe even April sort of paid some stuff for an upgrade. So I got like a Rode mic and stand and like a Rodecaster. Sent me back like I think the whole everything together sent me back like $1,000 maybe. But the way I looked at it is like I'm on Twitter Spaces enough, so I might as well like invest, and you know it has the like other side of it where I can it's you know connected via like my computer, so it's like works with like Discord, Skype, this what we're on now, anything. Do you mean I even had my like phone on the other day connected to the road for a Twitter Space, and somebody rang me after it, and I was able to speak through the mic on my phone as well, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's not too bad actually. I just have like a Blue Yeti on my desk that I happen to have. Well, I didn't actually happen to have it, but I didn't buy it just for this. Yeah. I never really used it before this much, but it's okay. It's not the greatest. I like the external like mute switch the most, but maybe we'll.
Yeah, I just figured like you know if I'm like getting funded to do Twitter Spaces, then I might as well use some of that funding to like improve the quality of the audio. Otherwise, it's just it's a bit you're not going anywhere with it. I guess I don't know. It just felt like the right thing to do. I think.
Yeah, no, it's smart. You got the voice for it anyway too. On top of it.
Thank you very much.
Hey, so Dude, thanks for spontaneously coming onto our show, Cardno.
No
I don't
problem
think
at
you have
all.
any idea what we're doing, but yeah, we just invited you on. We're live, by the way. This is going out on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube.
Nice.
Yeah, basically, Index Card and I are building a prop to go on chain for Lil Nouns, and we're just kind of in the phase of getting feedback.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought of you because of you've been running the Lil Noun show, you've run props, your props have been very, very successful. You got renewed, you have wide voter turnout, and so I figured, hey, I want to talk to Cardno, see what he thinks of this idea.
Yeah, definitely, man. I appreciate that as well.
So yeah, it's the prop is going to be to fund a whole season of live streams.
Mm-hmm.
And the live streams are me and Index Card. And yeah, just like the 10-second version is, there's going to be a lot of content in the beginning and middle of the season, but then it's all going to lead to the season finale.
Fancy.
So the season finale is Index Card and I are going to go on chain at Nouns.
Ooh.
And we're going to host a live stream during the last hours of the vote about what happened. Like, did we win? Did we lose? Did we campaign? How did it go? How did Little Nouns do? How did we do? What did we learn? And then we're just going to kind of show everything up to that point.
Yeah. I like it. So this is going on. You're gonna go on chain with Little Nouns. You're gonna do the series of streaming, and then it's gonna end It's gonna eventually end with you going for funding for Nouns, and that's gonna be like a, look at all this. Picture paints 1,000 words.
Yeah, pretty much. It's kind of like a two-part, I guess we have 3 parts here, but really a 2-part prop and like journey. First half, we go on chain at Lil Nouns, and as kind of like Panda's messing around here. Whether we go on chain at Nouns is kind of determined within the success of the Lil Nouns prop.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's kind of just our journey from being Lil Nouns builders, going through Lil Nouns, heading over to Nouns, and we're just going to live stream and produce content around that journey.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And then when you go in for funding for Nouns at the end, what's that going to be for? So you've had funding from Little Nouns to do the streaming, to like make it bigger, I take it, yeah.
Well, we've got to figure out what kind of Nouns prop can pass, what the community wants, and then we're going to try and pass it. But we don't quite know what it'll be. It'll be something probably live streamy, something that Index and I do together. But like we're going to have an episode called the Jungle episode, where we go to the jungle and we try to get Nouners to vote for us.
Yeah, so English was on kind of just a little bit earlier, and the Little Nouns proposal and the Nouns proposal have some similarities, but it's not like we're going on Nouns and asking them to fund us telling the journey of going on Nouns, because we kind of already did that. That's like the Little Nouns thing, and that's kind of like us trying to co-sign the message that Little Nouns is a place to be and come and get your ideas kind of started and going. The Nouns prop will have the live stream content elements to it, but the actual story and the adventure on Nouns is going to be different. And I have some ideas. Panda probably has some ideas, but we haven't quite nailed that part out yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Little Nouns prop, it's a little bit on the meta side, and the Nouns prop will be more of like a longer term, probably open-ended idea of some sort.
Yeah, I mean, for now, the Nouns part of it is, I don't want to say irrelevant, because obviously it's part of like this journey you've got like mapped out, but irrelevant in terms of what you're going to go there for. Like the idea now is to like go to Little Nouns and get past there, yeah?
Yeah, pretty much right now, because that's one of the key steps before we can even think about going on chain at Nouns. I mean, of course you can skip it, but not for the purpose of our journey. We're trying to detail a certain kind of story here.
This is Will saying no.
I see Will.
Will saying yes.
Yeah, so
yes.
to get Will to say yes, you need to have loads of metrics in your prop as to how you evaluate his success. So his like big thing is like proving that what was funded was worthwhile because of X, Y, and Z, and you don't obviously need to know. Well, you won't know those metrics because you haven't launched it since the prop being passed. But you need to have in the proposal that you intend to deliver back to the DAO, X, Y, Z in terms of what is done, who is reached, what you could do better. These sort of like reports. And the reason I say that is because he, as you both know, very rarely votes for a proposal on chain with Lil Nouns that isn't by a noun. However, he sort of let the cat out of the bag recently with Bixbyte's NFT Melbourne IRL activation, which he voted for, which I was quite shocked by. And then when I done some digging on it, because I'm interested in finding out why people vote and why they don't vote, because Little Noun show every 3 months. We're going to try and keep going up for funding, whether it's less, more, depends, on how the treasury is, and yada yada yada. So I dug into it, and I think on the channel in the Discord, proposal ideas channel where NFT Melbourne sat, he actually went in there and said to Bixbyte, yeah, and I only voted for it because, and I'm going to try and dig this out so I'm not paraphrasing it at all. It can be quite difficult to navigate the Discord, as you both know yourself. NFT Melbourne, I'll find it now. Should be too hard. Web stock, registration, Nounski. I just don't want to here we go. If I scroll down. Damn. Proposals funded. Okay, for some reason there's no comments on it. 2 seconds.
I'm gonna dual search here. We'll see.
Yeah, I've
never seen it before, but
I'm gonna go the other way, but I'm just search for his name because he's a man of little few words.
I have us in the metrics vehicle now, and instead of emitting gasoline, we're going to emit metrics from our prop.
Okay, so he said it in little thanks, weirdly, because Bixbyte said thank you to Little Pizza, Prof Word, blah blah. And she said thank you Little Al for voted, and then Will Price has said, and this is the 28th of February, but it's not that far up. He went, I voted yes because of the metrics / post-event follow-up component of the proposal. So, we know he very rarely throws his weight behind anything, but if that's anything to go by, he's a stickler. We knew it anyway, he's a stickler for data, but I think it's important. We've never done it with a Little Down show, and he's never voted for us, and he's been pretty open about that because I've been in the DMs with him, and he's like, it's just not my bag, mate. But no, his IRL stuff, and he's just voted for Bixbytes, but he said he voted because of the metrics post-event follow-up component. So it might be worth looking at her NFT Melbourne vote that went through, I think, 3 proposals ago, and just go into that section and seeing what he's speaking about and what he likes. Because whilst it's not enough to change, what you want to do and how your proposal works for one person, I would never recommend doing that. It's definitely something to be aware of, because he's such a large voting block, and if it's not a massive change to what you're doing in terms of you were going to provide feedback in some sort of way anyway, then you might as well get the verbiage right so it attracts somebody like him, because him throwing 500 odd votes on you straight away is well, that's us pretty much past them.
All right, I've upgraded our vehicle. We've got, instead of a headlight, we've got a metric chart here because we're guided by metrics. And we've also got metrics in the back.
But yeah, I feel like that's really good feedback. Not even just because of the number of votes he has, but I think honestly, I respect his opinion and his willingness to share his opinion and stick by it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so not even just the number of votes, whatever, but I just, you want to hear what he has to say and be appreciative that someone like him is willing to offer you any sort of feedback if you get it.
100%. When he speaks, he does speak with purpose, so it's worth listening, even if it's something you don't want to hear.
Correct.
That's the way I found it anyway. So 90% of my interactions with him is him saying to me he's not going to vote for me, but I've always said appreciate you like telling me why, because he does every time. He doesn't say you're shit. He says, I'm not going to vote for you because I believe, X, Y, Z. We should be buying more nouns because of this reason, that reason. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I mean, everybody's got their own opinion. There's not one, rule for all or one shoe fits all. Sorry, and that's fine, and that's why we've got a DAO. It just means it's more and more important as he gets more voting power, because obviously he's, bought himself like 100 more nouns soon, and eventually he'll be able to basically knock out any proposal in one hit if he wants to. But he's not there just yet, so he's always voted against us on 2 separate Little Noun show proposals of like, the first one was like 380 or something votes against from like day one, and then everyone was like 400 and something against. And the only thing it can be a bit annoying is the fact that you have a lot of voters in the DAO who don't engage in the Discord. So they don't know like the politics of it, or they don't know who you are necessarily. But the first time they might see you is when they go on to vote. They open up your proposal, and if Will Price has, seen your proposal early on, he's voted 400 or what is now 500 on it straight away, then some people who are not really that engaged with Discord might not realize that and just go, oh, this prop's really bad. And without even reading your proposal, they're just inclined to go, oh, well, I'll vote with a general consensus, because they just see the number of votes and start voting against it. And I've had that a few times as well, where people have DM'd me and saying, oh man, I didn't realize your prop would be doing so bad. What the hell's going on? I thought it would do really well. I'm like, look how many people have voted. One person's voted against, and it's got like 500 votes. And I've had, X amount of people voting yes, and now it's 70. And obviously, each time we've done well anyway, because like both our props had over 1,300, I think it was, for, and the people against us, I think the first time there was only 3 people voted against us, and the second time was only Will, so all good. But like I say, his advice and opinions are valuable to the DAO, because he sees things in a different way, and he sees things from a perspective of somebody who's heavily invested in the DAO. So why shouldn't his opinion, be heard?
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, I have no idea how it's going to go. I mean, I guess the odds are it's a no, but either way, we're kind of looking at this like, if it's a no or a yes from Will Price, if it's a no or a yes at Little Nouns, if it's a no or yes at Nouns, we've still kind of produced content around it. We've still gone on the journey, and at the end of the day, we do have something to kind of take with us and learn from and share. And that maybe like future builders that come around can kind of like watch our videos, get an idea, because we're really kind of doing everything out in the open. Like we opened a HackMD on a couple streams ago, and that was the beginning of our prop. We started just writing the words down right there live.
Yeah.
So
that's
yeah.
good.
What Cardinal, what do you think about in terms of like, how would you price this?
Well, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? Because whatever price you set it as, the only people it's going to be right for is you. So there's always going to be somebody saying, "Oh, it's too much," or somebody saying it's too little, depending on where they're coming from. So the first thing I would like start with is what you value your own time as, not what you think the DAO would have an appetite for paying, because you've got people in the DAO who are getting funded for like being a resident, like Alice, who like are pretty well paid, and you've got people in the DAO who might have only been funded 2 ETH for something that they consider a lot of work, and all of a sudden somebody comes in over the top, they go, oh well, I got paid this, and so it's all relative really for where somebody is, whether it's geographically or their background, or whether they're doing this full time, or whether somebody's got a really well-paid job anyway, and they're happy to take less money because they see it as a bit of fun. So I would say that you should just sort of price it as what you believe it should be getting paid from the DAO, and not worry too much about what other people think about it, if that makes sense. Like when we put our first proposal up for 3 months, it was for, I don't want to be misquoted, I think it was for 13.5 ETH for 3 months. which sounds a lot. And it is a lot. You know what I mean? It's all, relatively speaking, it is a lot of money. And it is only 3 months. And, you know, a lot of people were saying, well, you know, in 3 months you're going to come back, in 3 months, you know, and I was like, yeah, we probably will. But, you know, if you scratch the surface and dig into that a bit more, then you realize that our 13.5 ETH, 1.5 was for giveaways. We done like a banner contest. We give away like a Lil Nouns. So we were left with 12 between four of us. So that takes it to 3 ETH each. And then when you divide that over the months, so basically we were paying ourselves, and we are paying ourselves 1 ETH a month, which I think is pretty good. That's where we sort of settled on. That 1 ETH a month for what we were doing seemed right. But at the time, when we done our first 3 months, the proposal from Saturn had just been refunded. This is before it got bombed out on the last one, but he had one come through the same time as us for a second term. And he was getting paid as one individual more for writing one newsletter a week when our whole team was getting paid each month. And he was getting, so basically, I think he was getting paid like 4 something ETH a month for doing a newsletter each week. So, and that got voted through as well. So it all depends where it's coming from, how much work you think you're doing, how big your team is. So if it's 2 of you, you know, people need to take that into lost for words a bit there. Into context. I can't remember the word I'm looking at.
Yeah, take it into account.
Yeah, account. I think I was going to say consideration. I don't know what the hell I was on about.
Okay.
Yeah, but they need to take that into account. And it's just, you know, how much work you think you're putting in as well. So as long as it's explained well, I think one of the bits of feedback we had was from somebody on our first round who had like 12 votes and voted against us. And I'd never even spoken to them once, and they voted against us, and they put on House of Little Nouns. They put, I don't think, you know, 12 ETH or 13.5 ETH is, you know, a good price for blah, blah, blah. And then I broke it down for them of what like the whole thing entailed. And they were like, all right, yeah, I didn't realize that. Sorry, I voted against you. And I was like, well, it does say on the prop, you know, if you got any questions, here's my Discord ID, here's my Twitter ID, you know, please reach out. And then after that, and then but the thing is, the good thing about that is because I like kept a good you know, rapport with them. I didn't like, you know, go in on them being like, fuck you. Not that I would anyway, but you know, but a lot of people, there is a people in the DAO that if you vote against them, they get like anti against you, which is, you know, that's another question for another time, but like, you know, private voting and all that sort of thing. And you know, is there any friends? You know, people should respect your opinion, whatever it is. Because I kept a good rapport with him. I was like, hey, that's not, you know, no bother. This is why I think we do deserve it. And I broke it down. And the first thing he said was, I didn't realize there was that much work I went into a Twitter space. I thought you just press go. And I was like, well, no, you know, there's all this sort of guest work, briefing, debriefing, booking. You got like the operation side, you know, setting things up, you mean, getting graphics done, all that like niff naff and trivia that people don't realize you do. They just think you like 5 minutes before you go, right, let's start a Twitter space, and you start it, and like these things magically happen. But what I was trying to get at is that, you know, what I wish I'd done is I wish I put more of that in my proposal. So like why we not so much why we were worth the money, but what our responsibilities were, instead of like I just put budget 13.5 and it was like 1.5 ETH is for, you know, a giveaway each week of 0.0420 ETH. We're going to buy 3 Little Nouns over the course of the 3 months, give one away a month. We're going to do a Twitter banner contest, blah blah blah. And then underneath I was like team, and it was literally like 0.25 per episode per team member, because that was a breakdown. So we get 1 ETH a month and we do 4 episodes a month. So, you know, when you look at it, it's like 12 ETH, but you know, it's actually only 0.25 for a week's worth of work, because, you know, the week leading up to the Twitter space, doing the Twitter space, and then carrying on. And I wish I put more of that in the proposal. And the second time around I broke it down a bit more, because then it just stops people from going, you know, say for instance you were asking for, I'm throwing a number out there, say for instance you were putting in a proposal for 20 ETH, and I don't know your timeline, I don't know anything, that's just a number, right? The first thing people focus on is the amount of money, and then they don't really go into it too much, and without any sort of like breakdown or knowing you, they just see a number and go, oh no. And that's the other thing as well, that people like skim proposals, as you two will both know as well. Like, so first thing people always do is like they like scroll down or whatever the number is and look for the ETH amount, and then they'll make like a quick snap judgment on it. And then I think sometimes from what they see on that number and how they regard that number, whether they think it's high or low, they'll like decide whether or not they engage further with the prop. So sometimes people like skim something and go, oh fuck me, that's 70. No, we're not even reading anything of it, and then they just press like a back out of it, and then they'll vote it down. So I think when you like do your price in the proposal layout, some people used to put like we are asking for X ETH at the top, and then the proposal will start. But I'd still put it at the bottom. But I just make sure that it's not like on its own. It's with a breakdown of the budget, so that they can't miss where the ETH is going. It's not just like a standalone figure at the top of your proposal saying we are asking the DAO for 20 ETH, and then it's like the whole proposal starts, because people see the number and they're like, well, I can't be bothered scrolling down to the budget, or even if there is a budget, they'll just go, nah, I'm right. Whereas if they have to scroll down, see the ETH ask at the bottom, but it's within like a budget section, that's like quite, tight in that is, there's not a fucking massive whole page, but it's all there. Then they're more inclined to like read that breakdown when they're reading that number, because they can just see your numbers there. So that's what I would do.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely, I don't want to say guilty, but yeah, I come across a prop. You do your first skim usually. You get your kind of initial inclination as to where you might go with your vote. I feel like you look at the proposer, you look at the title, TLDR, and the amount, and you kind of are already like formulating your decision right there.
Yeah.
And then I personally kind of like sit with it. I'll go back, I'll reread, I'll go back and read again if it's interesting enough to me. So yeah, kind of good advice. As far as like ETH pricing goes right now, we went on stream with Al a few days ago or earlier this week and kind of worked through that, and he gave us advice because I was leaning on the lower end of things and Panda was a little bit on the higher end within our spectrum, so not like high end in general, but just on our spectrum. And then Al kind of just gave the general advice that even though you obviously enjoy this, because why else would we have a Figma file like this with all these assets?
Yeah, you
still want to feel like you're valued and you kind of feel rightly rewarded for the work and time you're spending on it.
Yeah.
And so I came around to bumping up, but right now I guess just to put it out there, because we've already have it on stream, we're considering somewhere in the 12 to 15 ETH range for the whole season.
How long is the season?
It's kind of indeterminate because we never know how the process will go, right?
Yeah.
But roughly
at least 12 episodes. I mean, this one right here has got to be episode 4 or 5 now.
Okay, so if they're two totally different things, right? We do our run is like 12 episodes for between 12 and 15 ETH, so it's comparable to what we put in our first one. I think our second one was a bit more because we like added we done like 2 weeks of daily shows and stuff that people wanted added, so we like factored in for that. But our usual thing is like 12 episodes for, I think it's like 12 something ETH. Obviously they're two different things, they're both media, so there's some comparison there, but they're two totally different things in the delivery. But I think the pricing's pretty good. I think it's pretty, I don't want to use the word, but I think it's quite competitive. I would like err on the side of like closer to 15 maybe.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely going to be compared. Just it's content, it's media, different, but yeah, it's going to be compared. So that's kind of where we're sitting, and that'll come out to roughly like, I don't know, 1 to 1.5 ETH per episode, depending on how the journey goes. So yeah, we have kind of like broad guidelines, 10 to 12 episodes, and they all kind of focus on a very specific part of the proposal process, but every proposal is slightly different, so it's hard to really predict. And then when we go on Chain at Littles, we'll kind of have already produced a bunch of content, and so like this is kind of part of our journey already right here with you, and so some of it will act as retroactive funding. And the passing of the little prop here, as like shown in our graphic, that will unlock kind of the rest of the episodes and content, ultimately ending in going on Chain at Nouns if we can get there. We may not even get on Chain. You never know either. Yeah,
it is a difficult thing, but I think I'm going back to the sort of the pricing and just to sort of like finish it off. I think it's like I would have no issues with voting for that. And I think like the best person to speak to is somebody you've already spoken to in Al, because he has a good gauge of the sentiment around the DAO, and he also has the side of the treasury and that sort of thing, and he's gave us loads of advice, and it's fairly similar to some of the things he was saying there. And like when we first got funded, we got like a retro payment, and we were only working off 0.15 each per episode. I think it was like, so it was like 0.6 per episode between 4 people, and he was like one of the first people to be like in our DMs, just like making a DM group, just being like, guys, you're not paying yourself enough. And he's like, you know what I mean? He's like, you need to sort of like up it a bit. And he was like, and he was right, because the way he was saying it was similar to what you were saying. He's like, I know you enjoy it, and that, but he's like, that's not the point. I mean, like you'll enjoy it to a certain amount of time until it's not enjoyable, and getting paid what you deserve will keep that enjoyment going on for longer, and then that'll translate to how you are in the DAO, and how how much commitment and how much excitement you sort of infuse when you're doing it. And even though it's not money orientated, he made a good point that it becomes a point where, because what happens is it's fun now because you're not getting funded, right? But as soon as you get funded, people are going to start asking questions. They're going to say, oh, this stuff, you start becoming under scrutiny, and that's where then the sort of the balance sort of tips to being like, well, yeah, I can take the scrutiny because I'm getting paid where I feel I'm getting rewarded. You know what I mean? So you're happy to take the scrutiny. You're happy to take feedback, and sometimes feedback is quite critical. But if you weren't getting paid for that, you wouldn't be so receptive to not criticism, but like people making crap comments about stuff all the time, because you'd be like, fuck man, I'm not even getting paid for this. So what I mean, why is it worth it? So it sort of keeps that sort of equilibrium, the way you're like, well, I'm valued because the DAO has decided I'm worthy of X to be paid, and then you can take the criticism, and you're happy to take feedback because you've got a responsibility to deliver on the trust that the DAO has given you by paying you what you believe you deserve, and what the DAO ultimately what the DAO believes you deserve because they voted it through.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. Because like if we do pass, then at the end of the day, that means that the DAO as a whole said yes to this. So at some point, the work was valued at that point. And I just feel like, Panda and I, we talk about like this infinite game concept, and we're here for like a long-term commitment and like journey. So like any feedback like you're giving, obviously incredibly constructive, some of like the most constructive feedback you can get, but I'm sure we'll get other bits and pieces. But when we look at it and think about it, we're here for long-term. So we're just gonna have to accept and deal with it.
That was our thing as well. People sometimes we were getting feedback saying, because like obviously the treasury now is at like 329 ETH, which it's actually held pretty steady in the last month and a half. I'd actually thought we'd be like under 200 by now, because we were like leaking quite heavily at one point. And when we passed our last prop, I was like, I said to the guys, I was like, I'm not even sure there's going to be a treasury when this funding round goes, but it's actually held within the same. It was in the 300s when we got funded in January, and we're in March now, and that was the back end of January. So we've held quite well, but you do get the questions of the usual one is people will say for instance, you've done it for like 15 ETH. Somebody straight away will like crunch the numbers on it and be like, that's 5% or 6% of the treasury or whatever it is. Do you mean is it worth us paying 5% of the treasury on this, and the treasury going to zero? But my comeback was always, well, I couldn't speak for everyone else in my team, but I believe that they're on the same wavelength. Like when I started doing Twitter Spaces, the same 4 people, me, English, April, and Crusher, we done a Twitter Space show for 3 landers from their mint, which was in March, to the end of August, and we used to do a weekly, not the same format as Lil Nouns, but we used to get guests on every time from another project, whether it was like Ghosts or fucking, well, anyone. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but look at a project lead from another big project on every week, and we've done every single one of those shows from the back end of March to the end of August, beginning of September for free. And like my comeback to people in the DAO when they say, no, well, Treasury's going to go to zero, then, what's going to happen? And I was like, well, we're just going to keep doing Twitter Spaces because, it's somewhere where we feel, we're valued and we believe in, and we've been entrusted with, being paid to deliver this content. And we're no stranger to like running spaces for free, and the fact that we're getting paid for it now is like a big, it's something we didn't even like consider, like, when we were like in the middle of our journey as four of us. We didn't even think it was one thing that could happen, or we didn't think it used to be like, oh, we might be able to get paid in like whitelists and stuff like that, right? But once we like got into Little Nouns, and after a while they were like, oh yeah, we'll support you to do this, because it was like another competing prop at the same time. I can't remember if you remember Panda, but I think it was like Zach Radio was trying to bring like something in with like Rug Radio at the same time. So it was like a big leap of faith for the DAO to like support us, because we were like newer than these people who were already in the DAO, and they'd already been funded as well to run a week trial or something, and they'd done a few spaces. So basically they'd already been like funded retroactively, and then the DAO decided to just basically switch fire and just support us instead of them, because they seen more value in us. So that was pretty cool. But my thing was always like, we're like long-term players, we don't have to be paid this forever. The Treasury might, be rocking at like, 90th or something in, 6 months time or whatever it is. We're not going to like disappear. But whilst there is a Treasury, and whilst, like I think I said to somebody, whilst, there's people getting paid to do a newsletter for, 4 times the amount of what we're doing for a Twitter Spaces, then this is what we value our price at. We'll structure that pricing accordingly, relevant to where the DAO's treasury is at in 3 months, in 6 months. Do you know what I mean? And that's just the way it is. But for now, there's a treasury there to be used. Something like what you want to deliver is at a good price. So why not use it? At the end of the day, somebody's just been paid 6.5 ETH to do ETH Denver, and then somebody's just been paid 6.5 ETH to do NFT Melbourne. So you're only asking for pretty similar amount to what those 2 IRL props have just been done. I know Big Spites is a bit different, because I think she's actually going to deliver on some of her like post reports and stuff, and we've seen some pictures, and some people have entered the DAO where she's like Nouns build, but I didn't really see much from one from ETH Denver. So why not actually pay creators who are delivering something week in, week out, rather than a one-day IRL event? And I think a lot of people see more value in, somebody who's going to say, oh, we're going to do like 12 episodes of this, and, it's there for all to see and find whenever they want to do it, whenever they do want to see and find it.
Yeah, that's kind of like our point of view too, especially if we have like a guest on, and let's say we get that guest on early in their Nouns career, and they go on to do some great things. Our like episode or our show can kind of grow with that person's kind of career and journey too. And like this content that we're going to produce, it's going to live hopefully forever. I mean, maybe we mint it to the blockchain and keep it that way, but it's kind of like always there to look back on. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to be here in this specific moment in time to enjoy it or watch it or get some value from it. But yeah, Panda had to run, I should say, a little bit of a family thing, I think.
Yeah, that's
so
cool.
he had to log off, but he wanted to at least thank you for showing up and sharing some of your advice and thoughts and feelings. So I just wanted to get that out there.
Yeah, anytime. I'm like free pretty much. I say free all the time. Like I've got like I'm full-time Web3 at the minute, so
okay, that's awesome.
I'm pretty much at home, but at the same time, what goes with that is at the minute I'm waiting for like some office space to become vacant, which should be taken over like next month. So at the minute I'm like juggling doing stuff with a 2-year-old at home. So my partner, she's like at work like every day, so I'm like full-time dadding on this as well. So I say I'm free. I said to Panda when he asked me to come on, I said, yeah, I'm pretty much free all the time, but it's just whether or not there's going to be a kid running around in the background, or whether or not, like you say, he's sleeping now, because here it's coming up to like 10:30. So
okay, yeah, it's getting late.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm pretty like, in the times where he's like sleeping, whether it's like in the day for a nap or whatever, I'm like free to do whatever really. And I'm always happy to like jump on, because like most of the time, with the stuff I'm doing in Web3, it can be done while I'm speaking to somebody else, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. That's kind of like how Panda and I have been working. You know, he has some, you know, young children at home, very young.
Yeah.
So we kind of work around it, but it's working out so far. But yeah, I don't know if you have any other kind of little insight or feedback to give to a prop as a whole. I think so far what you shared for me is really valuable and will kind of like hopefully help shape us towards success. But yeah, this is kind of like
there is like loads of invaluable stuff, but it's probably not stuff you really want to hear. Like there is some stuff like that goes along with like passing a prop, and it's not as easy as throwing it on and hoping people vote for it. Like there's like I'm sort of like I do like all the back end, a lot of the back end stuff for like the Little Nouns show. So I don't know what English was saying earlier, but we all have like pretty distinct areas of responsibility. Mine is usually like my background is in like operations focused like places anyway. So like my job is predominantly I do like guest stuff and that, but I like write all the proposals, put all the proposals on chain. Like every funding thing is like done by me. And then English is mainly like the main host and stuff like that. I mean, so it's like everybody's got different responsibilities, but like there's like tactics and things you need to do to like get like a prop successfully passed with Little Nouns. And I'm not talking about like sucking up to people or doing anything like that, but it's even like the little things. And I'm trying to think of some stuff off the top of my head, but main ones like when you put the prop online, so even like with the voting period and the delay, like the perfect time to do that, so you need to work that out. So off the top of my head, I'm sure it's like you need to upload the proposal like on a Saturday afternoon, and if you do that, it becomes live on a Monday and it finishes on like a Thursday night on a Friday, which means that the proposal has been live for voting during the week in its entirety, and it finishes on a Thursday, because when the Friday kicks in, everybody like goes off, as you know yourself from being like every weekend. On a Friday, it's like dead. Saturday is dead. Sunday is dead. Like if you flick through all the proposals, watch how many have like finished on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they've all failed because people just turn the computer off and go back to their IRL life and they forget. Whereas if you've worked it up the times and you kicked off your proposal so it starts on like a Monday morning and it runs and finishes on a Thursday, because I think we've got a 3-day voting period off the top of my head. I can't remember whether it's 3 or 5 days, but make sure it like starts and finishes on a weekday. Preferably even starts on like a Sunday evening and finishes on a Thursday if it is a 5-day. So that way that you've got like the whole run up within the DAO when everybody's at the computers, everybody's in the Discord chatting away from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and they can vote. Whereas if people do it wrong, all of a sudden their voting period starts on a Thursday night and it runs Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. You know what I mean? They haven't really, nobody's even read it, and like the failure rate's massive, and people don't even realize these little things.
Yeah, that's kind of like, as you know, I'm in Nouns. Well, I've been in Nouns for a while, but to Little Nouns, I started hanging out fairly recently.
Yeah.
So those are things that I probably don't quite have as much of a grasp on as I would in Nouns.
Mm-hmm.
Even though like it's very similar, you know, the structure is pretty much the same. There are some small little differences. So yeah, we'll have to research the proposal timing a little bit.
Yeah,
I
think I've got it written down somewhere. Like the optimum time. Like I have to like try and dig it out, and I'll DM it to you, because I was like working through it for ages, and I was like, this is the time. I was telling them all, I was like, this is exactly when I'm going to go live, because there's like a soak period of, I think it's like 30 something hours. I can't remember what it was, but basically it sits there for like X amount of time and then it goes live. And you know, if you like fuck it up, it can be like catastrophic through no fault of your own. You can have the best proposal ever, but if there's nobody like looking at it because they're all doing stuff on the weekend, it just ain't gonna happen. And the other side of it is the dark side of it, which is the same thing that happens in Nouns, where like, you know, there's like people DMing people and there's the politicking and all this sort of thing. But I found that what's worked for us is that I've just got like a core group of like little Nouners who I can sort of like count on, who have said to me, oh yeah, I'll support you, you know, in the months leading up to it or the weeks leading up to it or whatever. And then I'd like done so much, like, you know, I don't like pester them, but I'll just DM them on when the prop goes live, because they've like pretty much like asked me, or they've said, you know what I mean, like, oh, let me know when it goes live so I can vote for it. But there's like a few like voting blocks you really want to like not nail down, but there's certain people in the DAO that if you've got like their vote, then it just makes things a lot easier. There's like Jake's one of them. He's got like 50, 60 little nouns. You know, when somebody like him, I haven't seen much of him around actually recently, but he used to be around quite a bit. But he's somebody, you know, you want on side. Susuk's got like 60. Then you've got like Marvel Girl, who I never see anymore. She's got like 70 odd. And like all of a sudden then you've got them three and, you know, Al. And, you know, you're pushing quorum before you even start. But we've also seen other props pass where like the little voters have come out enforcing like their ones and twos and voted through proposals. But it can be difficult. And we all know that Dot as well is like got like 700 votes and he can just pass a proposal overnight if he wants to. So it's a bit of a weird situation really, because you could have like 200 votes, but if Dot wants to pass you, he could just pass you like 10 minutes before and you'll pass. So it goes a long way that if you're active. Like he, for instance, with Dot, he would have seen like yourself on Brannigan in, you know, community calls and doing stuff, and that like goes a long way. And he's always been of the opinion if somebody's like present and they're like mean good, and you know they're here for, you know, the long run, and they're for the right reasons, then he'll support them. And there's no like rhyme or reason who he supports, and that's been like an issue with the DAO for a while, in that sometimes people are like, well, you know, how come Dot you put 700 votes on this proposal or only had 300 votes, you know, at the last minute and passed it, whereas this proposal had 490 or 550 and was just short of quorum and you haven't voted for, but because he hasn't got a, you know, he doesn't work off like a, if this hits this many votes, I'll definitely vote for it. He does it on his own feelings, you know, like he just feels it out himself. And sometimes he just doesn't vote for stuff because he doesn't like the person who's proposing it, because he doesn't think it's the right thing. There's no way you can go about doing that, because you can't approach Dot and say, "Oh, you're going to vote for this proposal." But generally speaking, what I've seen is he votes for things for people who he's seen around for, you know, a good amount of time. And I remember when Will said on our last proposal he wasn't voting for us for whatever reason, and I was like, yeah, no worries, whatever. Dot actually DM'd me and he was just like, he's like, oh yeah, don't because I think somebody was saying, oh, maybe you should change this, maybe you should cancel it or something. And I was like, no, I'm not cancelling it. Will was like, yeah, blah blah blah. And then Dot messaged me or DM'd me and he was like, oh, don't be bullied by Will. He's like, you know, people see what people are trying to do. It doesn't matter, you know, the right people see what the right people are doing. And then, you know, he voted for us, so I was pretty happy with that. But yeah, there are a few little nuances, but I'd say the main one is making sure the proposal starts at the right time. That was a long-winded answer, I know.
No, that was good. And I feel like we're pretty much on the same page. We have like the same mindset about everything. Because yeah, like I delegate my votes out, but if I were voting, I kind of want to vote someone who you know, I think fits with the DAO and shares like the same vision as me within the DAO.
Mm-hmm.
And we had English on just before you, and he kind of said that when he would be looking at this proposal, he'd be voting on us. And he believes that mostly Panda, we don't have too much experience together, but he'd be voting on Panda because he knows Panda's like line of work, and that Panda wouldn't be trying to put a prop up that he doesn't believe in and doesn't think that can offer something, and he'll deliver, follow through, and kind of all that kind of good stuff you want to see in someone that goes on chain.
Yeah.
So yeah, and even like to myself, I started hanging out in Lil Nouns. I didn't come to like pass a prop or anything. I came to hang out because it was full of super active and thoughtful people in Nouns, and I was just looking for a place, you know, to connect with like-minded people. And so that's kind of why I came along here, and then I connected with Panda, and it just kind of went from there. There was no like grand vision that I'm going to come in and get this prop and get this ETH. So it's just kind of happened naturally, just from, you know, just doing, I guess, good things in the DAO. I don't know. Yeah.
No, definitely. I totally agree with you. Like Little Nouns is like a hidden gem, I think. There's so many good people in Little Nouns, and there's so many intelligent people, and there's so many people building some crazy stuff. I think it gets like, I don't want to say overlooked, because we do get a lot of attention. I don't know whether that's because we got so many nouns now, but I just think like people don't realize like what people are doing in Little Nouns. And I always think it's like, I always say this, it's like Little Nouns is because of like the cadence of Little Nouns, like how fast the auctions are compared to Nouns. Like we're running in our like DAO, like Nouns are like 10x the speed, like fast forward Nouns, and we're encountering problems in our DAO that Nouns aren't going to see for 10 years due to like the speed. We're doing like a speed run of Nouns, so we're encountering stuff that they haven't even, are way off their radar yet, and we're managing to like get through them things. And that's why things like Proplot come about, do you know what I mean, to like get ideas up, and now Nouns want to bring Proplot onto their sort of thing because they've seen the success of it. And there's so many great people in Little Nouns, and it's like really active and mainly in the week because of the reasons I said earlier. But it's just like a good place to be. I think generally speaking, it's like one of the best places to be, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, as you're talking through that, I'm like thinking almost like Nouns should be funding Lil Nouns as like a research lab. Like give some money to Littles, run some experiments, and so that in a year, 2 years, 3 years, there's kind of like valuable data and experience that Nouns can kind of learn from. Yeah, I don't know if that would ever happen, but
it would never would. But people don't people just don't realize that what we're doing is what Nouns will be doing in 10 years. They just don't. Obviously, like technology dependent and how everything changes in that sense. But some of the problems we come up against are certainly things that Nouns will encounter in years to come in terms of like voter apathy, engagement of voters, because you've got X thousand tokens and you only got a certain small pool of people voting anymore because of whatever reason, and that will happen in Nouns. At the minute there's a small pool of people, and you don't get like everybody voting. You can see that in the numbers, but sometimes you get like 50% of the DAO is voting on a proposal. Like if Nouns are to do that, you'd have like 3,500 votes. Where again, like proposals passed on like under 1,000 votes sometimes. So these are the things we've got to do. I do different things to try and engage people, which is, I'm guessing, what Nouns will uncover, going into the future. But
probably sooner or later. I mean, I guess hints of it are happening right now. But Lil's is definitely at an accelerator rate, and I don't know. I kind of like the framing I'm just giving it in my head as like a research laboratory facility for Nouns.
Yeah.
It's a shame more than that, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame really that I think we like, I don't know, like I don't think anybody's ever really asked but I think with Nouns, and obviously you're Noun yourself, but I just don't know whether, I don't know, I feel like they just don't, like Nouns has never funded Little Nouns, right? And
just Nouns outside like the seed.
Yeah, which is like what?
I can't remember the amount, but small amount in the grand scheme of Nouns.
No, I think it was like tiny for Nouns, I think with Nars it was like 60 something ETH. I think with Nouns it was literally like 1 ETH or something.
Yeah, 69 for Nars. And then Littles, it's kind of
I'm sure it was like 2 ETH.
Small. It's small.
Yeah, it was like under 2 ETH, I'm sure it was. It was like nothing. It was like nothing. So like and we give like X percent, well, one every, whatever is it, 10 Nouns or something. One every 10 Littles to Nouns. And that's one of the issues as well, because like obviously voting and stuff like that, because they just sit there and do nothing. And yeah, we've got our own issues, with voting, but we'll see how that plays out in the future, because at the minute, the only thing that's stopping one person, the only thing stopping Will from, either making or breaking a proposal is the fact that Al has got so many votes delegated to him. So like Al is like the linchpin really, because Dot can throw his 700 votes on something, but now Will can throw 500 and something against it, and Al has got like over 200 like delegated to him, so he can like pass or fail a prop on his own.
Yeah, I delegate to Al, so
yeah, it's good to delegate to Al. He does use his votes. He votes all the time, and not only that, he's pretty good with his voting.
Thoughtful,
yeah. He doesn't like just like vote because somebody's their friend or whatever. I've seen him vote against people he like gets on with in the DAO quite well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you like to see that.
Yeah, of course you do, and that's what
authenticity.
Yeah, we should be entitled to like vote as they do, and that's why I like again to like loads of. I don't know, actually, not loads of, but like there's certain people in the DAO. There was like Blooms who's just like left the DAO, like stormed out of it like the other week. Like simply because I was like, he's like, oh, can you vote for me in this prop house round? And I was like, oh no, I'm voting for Sorella. And that should have been like the end of the conversation, or like he should have been like, yeah, no worries. But it was not. He was like, oh, fucking, this is what I mean. Little Nouns never support me. No, and I was like, mate, this, I vote on what I want to vote for. It's not like you're in Little Nouns. And Sorella's got 10 Little Nouns anyway. He's got more Little Nouns than Blooms, so it didn't even work. But you know what I mean? Like this whole like vote shaming thing, that needs to stop. I don't like that.
Yeah, I kind of agree there. I won't go too deep, but because again, I'm still kind of newer in Little, so like with Nouns, I spent a really, really long time before I ever actively participated much. And so I kind of was trying to do that with Littles, but it's just so enticing to participate. But yeah, I try and stay back just a little bit and come in when I feel like I can. Want to. But all right, we can kind of wrap up here, I guess. Get you on your way. On behalf of Panda, I'll thank you because he likes to give out his thanks, and then I'll thank you too as well. Nice chatting with you. You shared some really good advice.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on, man. Cool.
Yeah, and if you want to come back at any point during our little adventure, we're probably more than happy to have you. Maybe we can get a whole group of littles on.
Does the link get pushed out in the channels? I've never seen it in like, oh, wait a minute, I can see it.
Sometimes we do. It kind of depends. Some of the live streams we want just us two, I think, working. Sometimes we want other people. It all depends. This was like more of a free flowing one. We were just trying to work through a little bit here live, but
no, man.
Thanks.
Cool. Yeah. Cheers, man. Have a good evening, right?
Yeah.
So.
All right, so I'm going to end the stream here. Thank you for tuning in if you were watching live. If you're watching on the recording, thank you for sticking around. We'll see you next time. Panda and I will be back sometime soon. Have a good day, and goodbye.